As you know, our capabilities for espionage have been extremely advanced for a long time. Snowden reminded us. When it comes to things like digital espionage, backdoors, the ability to hack into critical infrastructure, what is China and Russia doing to us that we aren't doing to them, or that we wouldn't be doing if we could?
So I think it's a difference, and you're right. And we get this question a lot too. It's, well, yeah, mind Bill. Certainly the Americans are doing the same thing. Look at the NSA. Look at Section 702. All of the different debates that we're having on the floor of Congress about our intelligence collection capabilities. The difference is the way in which we prosecute. When we conduct intelligence activities and intelligence operations collection, we're doing it to support our national security interests. When the Chinese conduct intelligence collection activities, they're taking that data and they're providing it to their private sector companies to beat us in economic warfare. And so they're taking the information that they're collecting from our private sector companies, they're providing it to their military, their defense industrial base to create these technologies. They're also providing it to Huawei. And Nortel is a great example of this. Nortel, the company that no longer exists, mind you, is 5G technology on which Huawei's 5G technology is based. In the early 2000s, Chinese cyber actors absolutely pillaged Nortel for all of their intellectual property and then gave that to Huawei. And now Huawei is one of the leading 5G companies worldwide.
My sister-in-law was working on that for Nortel.
So my point is, it's not just, it's not that they have greater capabilities or we have greater capabilities. The United States government, the National Security Agency, isn't conducting signals intelligence collection to support Verizon or Google. The Chinese are, the Russians are.
I think it's asymmetric. I think the Chinese have far greater range of capabilities to penetrate and understand our government and our decision-making institutions. Recently we heard that they had captured emails in the Commerce Department and State Department. I guess that's routine national intelligence. But they also penetrated the naval communications in Guam. So they, deep inside many of the systems, they also, because of their penetration of our cloud computing systems, they can lie in wait for years watching the internal decision-making processes of American companies and American agencies. I just don't think that we possess the same depth of penetration of their system, partly because they have the Great Firewall, they have a very rigorous campaign on right now that everything revolves around national security. Xi Jinping is trying to whip up a national consensus that any information that goes out of China is dangerous. I mean, we haven't even begun to take national security seriously in this country. So I think it's disproportionate and asymmetrical. Yes, our guys are doing certain things out there to try to understand what happened to the foreign minister, Xinjiang, is that his name, Xinjiang, who had an affair with somebody in Washington. So, but we're trying to understand certain things that the government's doing, but the depth of our penetration is nowhere near the depth of Chinese penetration in our society, in our system.
So this is one thing, though, I do want to harp on, just one more quick comment. While we are talking about the threats and the risks of China and Russia, it's because we want to draw attention to it because we want people to understand that they have a role to play in national security. What we don't want to do is we don't want to make China and Russia be 50 feet tall, right? They're not. They have their own problems. We see this with Russia right now in their physical invasion of Ukraine, a country that, for all intents and purposes, if they were a first world country that was a nuclear power, that was a peer military competitor of ours, they should have rolled over Ukraine. They didn't. Because Russia, for all intents and purposes, is a third world country with nuclear weapons, right? And so when we talk about cyber warfare capabilities, they use asymmetries. They use asymmetric warfare capability in cyberspace to undermine our political systems. The Chinese do the same thing. They use their strengths and our weaknesses to their advantage. The Chinese have 1.4 billion people. They have a very hard time actually managing and actually leading that massive number of people. And so for us to look at them and say they are unstoppable, they're Goliaths, that's not the case, and we're not trying to put that across. But we do want people to understand that the threat is real, and they are targeting us.
It's an important subject. This is an exceptionally important issue. My question is, it is asymmetrical. Does it also change the nuclear doctrine? It seems that things are getting so blurry, it kind of reminds me of the 50s. And according to that, do we need to create an NGO that brings together all the cyber actors and create an arena that you can regulate and begin together figure things as opposed to UN?
I think that calls into question the doctrine itself. And so when you're talking about mutually assured destruction with nuclear weapons, we know where the missile silos are. We know where the nukes are. We can see via satellite imagery where their systems are, where their launch sites are, with the exception of ballistic missile submarines. And so by and large, if there is a nuclear strike, we're going to know about it, not only from the radar signature, not only from the fact that a ballistic missile is actually launching, but because we know where they are right now. And when a ballistic missile launches, when a nuclear weapon launches, it launches because they want to make a statement. This is a last resort. Cyber weapons are actually flip that on its head, because cyber weapons are constantly being used. They're constantly being held in reserve and not being talked about. If we had something that was an open, we were completely open kimono about our cyber warfare capabilities, there would no longer be capabilities because everyone would know about these zero-day vulnerabilities that exist out in the wild. So cyber warfare is inherently different because those tools themselves have to be kept secret. There's no way for us to be checking, like there's no START treaty for cyber warfare, and there never will be. That's really how it functions and how it operates. So for us to have an NGO or to have something that says, we are going to limit what we do in cyberspace to X, Y, and Z, as soon as it's signed, it's going to be violated.
Are you saying that Putin's suggestion that we have a joint cyber command with the United States was a bad, disingenuous idea?
Oh no, I trust everything Putin says.
So thanks for the opportunity. I just wanted to comment that before we're talking about solutions, you clearly monitor all government regulations. But I wanted your opinion, just heard a little bit about something called an S-bomb, which is software bill of materials. It was introduced as, kind of like getting companies to respect the need for inventorying vulnerabilities in their technology that's currently deployed. When you have a breach, it shouldn't take you 3 months to find out where are the pain points. It should take you 3 hours. And in the absence of having standard regulations in place, there are a lot of companies out there that really don't even understand the peripheral, protection against cyber security breaches. So in that perspective, what is your opinion of that S-bomb, regulation? What are the good points? What are the weak points? Does it go far enough? I was just interested in hearing your opinions on that.
Well, just briefly, we didn't really talk about this very much, but one of the reasons we're so vulnerable is that our software is people, we don't know what's in our software. That if I write a software program, I may borrow code from GitHub or other repositories that other people have written, including Chinese and Russians. So I write a proprietary piece and package it with other software that I borrow, and I sell that in the marketplace. I don't know whether there are vulnerabilities in that software. I don't really care. I just want to make the money. So this software bill of materials would require the companies actually know what they're selling. Is that right? So, it sounded like a great idea to me. What is your thought?
So S-bomb, not to be confused with F-bomb. Sorry.
I feel the same way, man. Speak very carefully on this.
So, software bill of materials, for those who aren't familiar with it, think of it like an ingredient list that you see. If you take your box of Triscuits and you see all the xanthan gum on there, what's xanthan gum, right? And so for software bill of materials, it tells you what is all in your supply chain. So if you have a tool or a platform that's being used on your mobile device or on your desktop, you can look at a software bill of materials and say, every piece of software that's in this device comes from these different locations. The beauty behind having that is that when vulnerabilities or patches are presented or put forth, that you know exactly what the vulnerabilities are within the software perspective. So from a provenance perspective, you can very clearly identify what those software is because you know exactly what the software is. And if you don't have a black box, and when these vulnerabilities are a black box, and when these vulnerabilities are revealed or patches are issued, you have no idea how you are. And so when you get a device, you get a device off the shelf, and it's already vulnerable. As soon as you get it, you have no idea because it's a black box. And likely, before you even got it.
And so software bill of material is looking to.
And so software bill of material is looking to remedy that situation.
Zero.
But here's the challenge.
Software bills of materials, right? Because
Software
they
bills
protect
of
against
materials,
things that are
right? Because they protect against things that are
They're going to the bank.
These are the
They have a
bank
record
records.
already.
They go into the
What
bank that
happens
have a
if it's
record
a
already.
9-year-old woman
What
who
happens
walks
if
in the
it's a
bank?
9-year-old woman who walks right in the bank?
She's not the one whose picture
Right?
is sitting
She's
there
not the
on
one
bank
whose
wall.
picture is
The bank
sitting
tells her,
there on the
this is
bank
the
wall.
bank
The bank tells her,
Until
oh, this is the bank robber.
That's a zero.
Until she pulls her gun.
That's
That's
a
a
zero nothing for zero-day bond.
S-bonds do
And so
nothing.
they cut down on the vast
And so
majority
they
of
cut down
vulnerabilities,
the
but when you get
vast
to that
majority
point,
of vulnerabilities, but when you get to that point where it's something that's
So they are
unknown,
important
they lose their
for
way.
that.
So they are,
Percentage are
for that, whatever
vulnerabilities,
percentage on vulnerabilities, it's on that point, it's a false sense.
One story, I know we're running short, the National Institute of Standards and Technology within the Commerce Department compiled a database of the known vulnerabilities in software, CVEs, they're given a name. And this database is public. The U.S. government want to encourage companies that actually have these vulnerabilities in their systems to turn to their software provider and say, give us a patch. And they want these companies to then apply a patch to the system. Well, the system doesn't really work because software companies don't necessarily want to issue all the patches, and the companies that have the vulnerabilities don't necessarily want to spend all the money to apply the patches. But guess who goes into that database and knows vulnerabilities? The Ministry of State Security, China's CIA, has been known, as according to CISA and FBI, they've been able to watch the Chinese ministry go into this database, learn vulnerabilities, find out where the vulnerabilities in American software systems, and then we assume that the Ministry of State Security visits some of these, at least some of these companies and leave little presence behind malware so they can get in the back door sometime down the road. So that's how dysfunctional our system is. That one arm of the federal government is announcing to the world where known vulnerabilities are in our software. It's just
I'll
crazy.
make a very important.
You all make
case.
very important for a clear case.
An overdue case for how we need to take
An overdue case for how we need to take it. You don't really think about this in a much more comprehensive way, as citizens, as corporations, as a country. It's a great book, it's an important book, it's time. So thank you. Everyone go get your signed copy, it's 5 in the back.